Welcome to the Automation Unplugged podcast, the podcast for technology professionals, featuring leading industry personalities. I'm your host, Ron Callis.
Let's get started.
Hello there, Ron Callis with another episode of Automation Unplugged. I hope you're having a great day. Maybe you're listening to us on Wednesday, right as the show dropped, or maybe you're watching us or listening to us on another day or another time. Regardless, I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate that you're tuning in. We have a great guest for you today. We're going to talk all things hi-fi. I've got a great operator out of the Atlanta market, and they've been doing business for decades. And I'm excited for the conversation today. As always, today's show is brought to you by my day job over at One Firefly. And let's go ahead and get started. So today's guest is Chris Doughty. He's the GM, the general manager at HiFi Buys in Atlanta. So let's go ahead and bring in Chris. Let's see how he's doing. Chris,
Hi,
how are you,
Ron.
sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, my pleasure. Where are you coming to us from?
It's in Buckhead, so basically right in the middle of Atlanta. So,
In the middle Atlanta. Okay.
yeah,
And are you on the showroom floor? Are you
I
in the
am.
back
Yeah, I'm in
office?
my office at the shows or at the store. So, this is a bit of a dangerous thing because I'm constantly interrupted when I'm here usually. But there's a sign on the door, so hopefully everybody reads it.
You got the sign. Do you have like
Yeah,
the red light that's
yeah. We
flashing
got the
saying
on-air
recording?
light. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, for folks that are not familiar with Hi-Fi Buys, maybe just help us understand a little bit. I did introduce just before I brought you on that you guys are a hi-fi shop.
Yeah.
Maybe just give us an idea of what do you guys offer? What type of clients do you serve? And
Sure.
maybe geographically, what generally is the marketplace that you're serving?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are definitely the way I describe it to most people is that we are kind of an old school hi-fi shop. So we've got about I think the at last count about 24 to 25 different stereos on our floor, with within that somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 different pairs of speakers for people to listen to, and just about every one of those systems has a turntable on it, which is one of our biggest sort of specialties, if you will. And so that is by far our passion is big speakers, turntables, component systems, that kind of stuff. And we I think the range of systems that we sell, we started about $1,000 for a complete system, and we have a system in our store that is north of a $500,000. And we try to hit everywhere in between. And it's a lot of fun. It's like working at a toy store basically. And so no complaints on that side of things. Our customers, I'd say, are just, we tell everybody that we serve anybody that loves music. It's regardless of budget, age, experience. We're here to educate people and help them make the right decisions for their wants and needs for their system, right? Whether that's a dedicated vinyl listening room, in their home, all the way to distributed audio and some smart home stuff as well. But like I said, but by far our passion is the music rooms there. So.
Do you find that most of your customers are right there in the Atlanta Buckhead marketplace, or do you people come across straight state lines to come see you
Yeah,
guys?
the vast majority are here in the Atlanta area. For anybody that doesn't know Atlanta, it you can be 2 hours from Atlanta and still say that you're in Atlanta.
Yeah,
So
especially during rush hour, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that you could be, yeah, 5 miles could be 2 hours here
Yeah.
sometimes. But it is, we get most of our customers are here local. But at least lately, we have been expanding that with some of our reach thanks to a couple of programs we do with used equipment, where we've been able to expand our reach with some sort of, I'll call it light e-commerce. It's nothing native to our site, but and then also our YouTube channels. So we've expanded our reach definitely outside of our local market. And then we also have clients that come from all kind of neighboring states, because several of the lines that we carry, we're the only dealer for uh, quite a distance. A couple of the lines, the closest dealers are in New York, or places like that. So for some of the products, it's, people will drive from North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama to come to see us, and then we'll also take care of people's homes, several hours away, where they're underserved markets from a hi-fi sort of experience place. Yeah,
Makes sense. All right, so give me the extremes. Someone
yeah,
comes in and they're gonna drop $1,000
yeah,
and they're super excited and they
yeah.
love music. What are they going home with?
Well, for $1,000 for us, it's probably looking at a turntable, about a $500 turntable. We love overspending on sources because garbage in equals garbage out, regardless of how nice your speakers are. If your source isn't great, they're not going to do what they can do.
Okay,
And then really love, a simple kind of old school, fully analog Yamaha receiver. For example, something that's maybe 50 watts a channel and a nice but small pair of bookshelf speakers, a couple of cables to get it all connected, and you're off and running. So, that comes in right around $1,000. And we sort of, when I say that, talking typically looking at one source or another, right? Most systems we sell are these days are capable of doing a turntable and streaming from the internet, sort of mixing
sure.
and matching the old and the new. But yeah, with one or the other, right around $1,000 for a nice small starter hi-fi system. But I even hate using the term starter hi-fi system because for some people, $1,000 system may be their end game system,
Sure.
and we're certainly happy to help people find that,
I
regardless
love
of where
that.
they land.
Now
Yeah.
let's go to the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Someone's going all in. They're getting they're gonna
Yeah.
drop a half million bucks with you.
Yeah.
And
We're
what are
that
they going home with?
Yeah, that's where we're talking, you know, separates from everything from, a massive turntable from Germany. I guess our reference system right now consists of a turntable from Brinkmann, which is a German manufacturer, with a Japanese optical phono cartridge, and then Swiss made preamp, amplifier, and streamer. And actually, the speakers are made here in the US by a company called Rockport Technologies, with cabling and stands and sort of isolation products, and really the full kit is, it is a really, just in terms of scale, the amount of components and the size of the system, while it's the exact same sort of signal path as the first system I described, the number of boxes and the extremes that these companies go to is pretty astounding. I always use car analogies because they seem to resonate with people more than hi-fi stuff does.
Sure.
And it's working here is like working at at a car dealership where you're selling Camrys all the way to Bugattis, right? And so that $500,000 system is certainly the Bugatti, right? They do the same thing, but you know which one you're driving.
What what is your I'll say in the next 5 years,
Yeah.
what is your Chris Doty's aspirational system that you wanna put in your house?
For at home. Okay, so that's actually always a funny conversation here because I get asked a lot, that, and
Okay.
I actually don't have anything at home. I spend a lot of time here, so I like to listen here. My personal sort of passions and hobbies are way more on the side of music and video games and gaming and things like that. So things like great TVs and surround sound, things like that, stuff that we don't really focus on here at the store, are really what I love. It's a lot of the same, expertise to put
'Cause you
together
can
the
come
right
to the
system.
store and get the best in the world all day long, 7 days a
Yeah,
week. So you're saying
right.
you
I'm
don't
not at yeah, I'm
aspire
not
for that hi-fi gear in your house because you already have it all day.
That's right. I don't go home and listen to music, almost
Okay.
ever, because I'm doing that all day, every day, at a level that I'm just never going to really approach from a home system standpoint. But
Okay.
I really do love it, and it's something that it's amazing to watch people have emotional reactions to music that they didn't think was possible without
Yeah.
being at a concert live.
Okay.
It really is very rewarding to see people, have those emotional moments in our store, and
Sure.
you can almost watch in their face their own personal priorities change in terms of how they're going to spend their money over the next several years.
All right, so I don't want to get you in trouble with this question.
That's all right.
So everyone that's listening or watching, I don't want you to disagree per se publicly with Chris or get too emotional about this. But Chris, what would be, and I'm even going to try to soften the way I ask the question.
Sure.
What would be 10 great pieces of demo music
Ooh.
when
Um.
you are demoing your gear
Sure.
at any, I mean, you could maybe say, well, at this price point, I demo this. I don't know if that
Yeah.
kind of works.
No. So I'll describe that. Since it's been a while since I was kind of consistently doing demos on the sales floor, I don't have a ton of tracks right off the top of my head. I have some things that I listen to a lot.
Okay.
And so I listen to a lot of Radiohead. I love Radiohead, and it's not something that I would necessarily recommend demoing to somebody unless they're familiar with Radiohead, only because there's a lot going on. So it can be difficult to focus on one sort of aspect. And so I always recommend that people demo or evaluate speakers with music that they're familiar with, right? There's certainly instances where having a better hi-fi system will make people focus more on production quality and the recording quality than on the actual music itself. At the end of the day, all of this stuff is made so that you can enjoy music. And so if you don't enjoy the actual music, don't listen to it, is always what
Yeah.
I've said. That being said, we always try to focus on a couple of different types of music. So we will always play. Actually, these days, a lot of electronic music gets played to show off the bass response capabilities of a system, because there's a lot of very, very low bass that is nearly impossible to reproduce with an actual instrument that you're getting out of, pop music and electronic music these days. So I'm always amazed at that. There's always the standbys of Steely Dan, and things like Nora Jones or Diana Krall, the Eagles. Sort of the things that come to mind when you sort of think of a stereotypical hi-fi shop are they're classics for a reason. Stevie Ray Vaughan's Tin Pan Alley is something that I think has been played every day of the 14 years that I've worked here. Um, and then I honestly, I always recommend that people find some sort of classical piece, something with a full orchestra that will really show off a system's ability to resolve individual components and sort of the scale of an orchestra that really you don't get from really anything else, that's super post produced and things like that. So I personally love like I said, movies and games. So I tend to lean into movie soundtracks, things from Hans Zimmer, or even video game uh, soundtracks, because they're all
There's a lot of
very
production value that goes into video game soundtracks. I mean,
it's
video
it's
games
huge.
are billion-dollar businesses.
Yeah, bigger than movies and TV, I think, combined,
Yes,
at this point. And so, that certainly was not the case. I would never have, when I was growing up, admitted that I played video games, but I'm happy to be in a point, now in the world where everyone plays video games. So
everyone plays video games.
yeah, so those are the things that I gravitate towards because they remind me of something, a previous experience, right? So I have an emotional connection to that music, and if a stereo can bring me back to the moment that I experienced that, either playing the game or watching the movie, I know that it's doing something right.
Out of curiosity, how do you land in a dialogue with a customer or prospect? Let's say it's
Yeah,
someone you have not sold anything to. They're in your store, they're listening, they're enjoying themselves.
sure.
How do you land at through dialogue, or what are the right types of questions your sales team ask to understand what is the right category of gear
Yeah,
that's probably a best fit for a client?
that's a great question, because that is, I think, the immediate challenge, other than like breaking down the immediate barriers of like I'm about to be upsold everything, right? That people sort of expect from a hi-fi shop is the used car salesman
Yeah,
experience,
no
right?
one likes to be sold, but they love
Right.
to buy. So
Right.
how do
So
you present
yeah, so we
solutions to
yeah,
them
so
there?
the way that I go about it is first by trying to establish that person's level of knowledge of the product, because we get such a wide spread of people. whether that's somebody who just bought an album by their favorite artist and got it home and realized that they have no way to listen to it, and jumping right into sort of product models and jargon can really turn people off. Whereas, we have a ton of customers that have been interested in hi-fi for longer than I've been alive. And so if I sort of come at them with, you know, oh, do you own a turntable? Right. The opposite effect happens where they're like, oh, this guy doesn't know anything. So for me, I always do typically I start with what do you have already? Right. And that
Okay.
gives me an idea of the level of commitment to the hobby that somebody's already got, right? So they can rattle off if somebody starts just rattling off products that they've got. That gives me an idea of what level they're already at, as well as okay, they are obviously educated in the industry and know the products, right? So we can jump right into a certain level and start talking differences between products and things like that. If somebody bring is very clearly very new to it, it becomes less of a let's talk about what product brings you in here today and tell me what you're trying to tell me what this looks like in an ideal scenario for you, right? Whether that's I want a system where my kids are buying vinyl and I want to put my system back together so that my kids will spend time with me, kind of thing, right? That's a very different experience to somebody who walks in and is like, I just bought a house and it's wired for surround sound and I want to have parties and be able to play music during those parties very easily, right? Is those conversations really start with, just kind of asking people to tell me without products what they want that experience to look like at the end of the day. But I always tend to start with what somebody has because that is the quickest way that somebody will sort of reveal themselves either as, a veteran audiophile or somebody that's very new to the hobby. Yeah.
I am curious, just another maybe abstract demographic type question. Do you find people that are into purchasing or investing regularly in hi-fi gear? Do you find that they are also into other luxury good type hobbies? Like, do they collect cars? Do they collect nice watches? Are there other like,
You hit two of
pretty
the big ones right on the head for
okay.
sure. Yeah, it's cars and watches are definitely um for better or worse, this definitely is sort of seen as a guy's kind of hobby. Our customer base is overwhelmingly male, despite we do our best to try to bring in welcome any anybody really that wants to learn about music, or at least music reproduction in the home. But yeah, it definitely there's a big overlap between watches and cars specifically. Um, there's a conversation I had with a client of ours who he purchased a very nice system. It was kind of a milestone sort of marker for a huge part of his, a big accomplishment professionally for him. He'd always wanted a hi-fi system, and he actually described to us his decision making process between buying a stereo or buying like an incredible sports car. Right? He said, "I've owned the Ferrari, and there's something special about a hi-fi system because every piece of music that you listen to on it is like you're in a different car. And
Hmm,
so that newness of the hi-fi system never wears off because the music is really what it's about. Whereas he said when he owned the Ferrari, after several months, it just became his car,
right.
right? It was no longer new and special. And so it was this sort of it it lost that sort of initial shine. And he said with the hi-fi system at the same cost, he gets significant amount more enjoyment out of it over the long term. And that was a really
Wow.
interesting perspective for me because I've never been in a position to buy either of those things.
Not yet anyway,
But
right?
right, not yet anyway. But it really opened my eyes to kind of that difference between like collecting things versus putting together a system that's able to show you new things in pieces of music or pieces of content that you really love, right? And that that's the difference between those two, but there's certainly a lot of overlap.
So we're recording this interview here in the second half of 2025. What's the state of hi-fi in America?
Um, you know, it's one of those things that honestly I have like a bit of existential dread about from time to time, because it does in a way feel like I've kind of hitched my horse to a dying industry in some ways. But I do think that there's still a lot of space for companies to do this the right way. I think that hi-fi as an industry has deservedly earned a really negative reputation of being like a used car salesman, that experience, right? Or being really negative towards new customers, right? And not welcoming younger people or people that don't have the $500,000 budget, right? And things like that. And those to me are just really obvious ways of killing a hobby.
Right.
If you're ignoring the act of creating new customers, you set an end date of your business, basically, in my mind. And so I'm very protective of that $1,000 system, and the $500 turntable. And those price points are important to me, as much as the $150,000 speakers that we have, because it really is that important for me, the longevity of my career here, to really to plant seeds and to grow new audiophiles, basically, right? And I don't see enough of that. I see online a lot of negativity, a lot of distrust towards retailers, towards manufacturers. um, and it's, the industry is overwhelmingly moved towards an e-commerce model where there's nowhere to go actually learn about the products. You're kind of on your own, learning on Reddit and places like this where nobody is vetted. Nobody has to tell you what their experience is or anything. They can say whatever they want. And then, purchase a product from an online retailer and return it if it's not the right product for you. That to me is such a miserable buying experience, that it doesn't shock me that people would pick other things, right? I think in the heyday of hi-fi in the 70s, there were not a lot of other things like clamoring for people's attention, right? It was music. It was, gather around the hi-fi system when you wanted to entertain or to have a party and things like that. It was a status symbol. And these days, it's, for a lot of people, it's become, well, that seems complicated. I'll just listen on my headphones, or to my, whatever it may be, my sound bar, when I want to have music on. And it's more of a background thing for having three screens on, and, all of these distractions, right? Other, and granted, I love the other distractions too. But hi-fi used to kind of have it in the bag because they were the only game, really. And now we've kind of, for me, it's all about trying to find the people that really want our help rather than trying to convince people that they need our help,
That
because the
makes
people
sense.
that don't want our help realistically don't need it.
Yeah.
If somebody's fine with that buying experience that I just described, more power to them. That's totally fine. I'm not here to tell you that that's the wrong way to do it. We're never going to be the place. Well, I say never. I should never say never, but we're never going to be the place that has it for the least amount. You're right, the cheapest price, although you'll pay the same here as everywhere else, or has it the quickest. Right. Our value proposition is really that you're going to get the right thing, either initially or ultimately, because I'm way more interested in people telling their friends to come see us than I am in just putting a box in their trunk and never seeing them again, which is what it feels like the industry went to.
You guys, I want to go a couple of different places with
Sure.
where we're at right now, but I'll start with e-commerce. You guys went through a period where you tried out e-commerce,
Yeah.
and I think you had mentioned to me before we started recording, it was during the COVID period.
Yeah. And
H-
actually,
How how did that go?
yeah. So I'll tell you, I actually was hired here initially to load an e-commerce platform for the store, having no idea what hi-fi was, right? But even at that time, we weren't really thinking of selling things online. It was more to present an online catalog of the products that we sold, so that people online who were searching for specific products may end up finding us, right? That was
Sure.
always the intention for it. And then when the pandemic hit and we had to close, we were considered, I can't remember the term, but we
There
were
was a term where
necessary.
necessary
Yeah,
because you
we were necessary because we sell home networks.
yes,
Hi-fi certainly wouldn't have been considered necessary, but home networks were, so we got to stay open.
right.
But nobody was coming in, so there was definitely a mass panic. in a week had to update our phone system so that it wasn't just tied to the store and we could answer remotely. We had to really grow very quickly, and part of that was to try to introduce e-commerce onto our website.
Mm,
There were a lot of challenges with that. As anybody that's done e-commerce will know, you like I said, you have to have it in stock and you have to have it up to date. It takes a team probably the size of our entire company to do e-commerce well,
right.
because you can't be wrong, and you have to have the stuff. So it takes a lot of people and a lot of money, and we learned that very quickly. And I think 80% of the sales that we made at that time through e-commerce either got returned or had problems, and we
Oof.
certainly ended up losing money in this e-commerce sort of journey that we went on, and it really sort of was a reminder to us that that's not who we are. We are a place where somebody can come and experience the products that we sell, and learn about them so that they
Right.
can feel educated. And I've just never found really anybody that I find does that well online. They're not as well as in person, if that makes sense.
It
It's
does.
much easier to have a conversation if you're having a conversation rather than just talking to some stranger online.
All right. So you had mentioned your one of your personal goals
Yeah,
was to help expand the love and appreciation of hi-fi.
yeah,
And I know that you guys are well into the headphone business.
yeah.
And so I'm curious, is that one of the hooks for the hi-fi type customer, or is that a different customer than a hi-fi customer, but it's also just good business?
Um, That's a great way to put it. And I'll say that because for a long time in the hi-fi industry, headphones were viewed as accessories, right? It was an add-on sale. It wasn't its own sort of category, right? It wasn't its own thing to focus on. It was just, oh yeah, you need something that will play music personally. Here's what we sell, right? Zero passion for it in most cases. Um, there is a massive um, uh, it's a massive business, the headphone business. Now, that being said, what we focus on in terms of hi-fi headphones is a very small section of that business,
What are
right?
the
We're not.
price points of what you would
Yeah,
call
sure.
hi-fi
We
headphones?
so we sell things from, I think we started about $190. And we go up to now, I think in the store we have a pair that is $6,000. And then none of those are wireless. We do have a small selection of wireless headphones as well. Most people, I think, when they hear headphones, think wireless. We're talking like having a like a component system, like a hi-fi system, but it's small, sits on your desk, and you plug headphones into it, right? And
Mhm.
it is really incredible the amount of detail, and the resolution that you can get out of headphones, compared to a hi-fi system, because the room that the hi-fi system is in is such a big part of the sound quality that you get from it.
Mhm.
And with headphones, you've taken the room out of the equation, and so it's this pure experience. It's this more personal experience. We find that they're not the same customer, right? Is that we have some hi-fi customers who want a pair of headphones for moments where they can't really turn up their system, right? And it's sort of a backup plan for them. But
Right.
we have the vast majority of people that come to us for headphones are thirsty for a place where they can go experience these things that they spend all day reading about online and on at forums and things like that, and just consuming as much information as they can. We find that those customers honestly come in oftentimes more educated than we are on the products,
Wow.
and it's a slightly different job for us where we are more of just a place where people can come experience those things and make decisions between different products for themselves. But the clientele skews overwhelmingly younger for headphones. I would say vast majority of our headphone customers are under the age of 40,
Okay.
whereas our hi-fi customers are the exact opposite, overwhelmingly above the age of 40 or 45. And there's a lot of factors that go into that, right? Is a lot of our younger people are not buying homes and things along those lines, right? So in an apartment or in your parents' house, a nice pair of headphones is a lot more feasible than a hi-fi system in most cases. And it's also uh, it's a lot easier to own four different pairs of headphones than it is to own four different pairs of speakers, right? So We find that it's a different customer, but it's a really important part of our business to bring in new customers and to start that sort of audiophile journey for people at a younger age.
I'm gonna share for our listeners. I'm gonna share the HiFi Buys website here on the screen. So let me see if I can get technology to behave. There we go.
There you go.
And so I just went to your website, and in the
Yeah,
menu, the hamburger menu there, I said what we do, and under what we do, there was headphones, and looks like you carry Audio Ease, Sennheiser, Focal, Cord, iFi, Grado. How do I say this? Estelle and
still in
Kern.
Kern. Yep, yep.
Looks
And
like
we've
there's
actually
more
actually,
brands.
this is a good reminder, I need to update that slide there because,
There's
that
more
page,
brands.
there's more stuff, yeah, nowadays, but yeah.
That's great. And
That's
so
a good view of the headphone bar, yeah,
yeah,
there.
so what's happening here? Can
Yeah.
people that come into your store, how do they listen to different sources?
Sure. Yeah. So we've got, you can kind of see there's a small white box kind of in the towards the bottom left corner right there. That's a Blue Sound node. So we've got four different sort of stations, all with streamers. And then we've got those streamers plugged into a pretty wide selection of different DACs that have right? Most of these products are going to be a combination DAC headphone amplifier. And then there's, I think it these days, somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 different pairs of headphones. Um,
Wow.
and so, basically, we have people that will come in. I think the record right now is about 7 hours, and we're only open for 8 hours in a day. So it's going to be a tough record to beat. But we had somebody come and sit for close to 7 hours and spend time listening very intently to every pair of headphones that we have and taking detailed notes. And thankfully, ended up buying something.
I was
But
gonna say,
that's not
thankfully, hopefully.
required. But thankfully, it ended up that way. And yeah, basically the headphones, as you can see there, they're just statically displayed, not plugged in. Basically, people just grab the headphones, off of those stands, plug them into whichever DAC or amp they're kind of set up with, which we sort of will help people make a decision based on sort of their, how they're going to be connecting to it, what's the price points, those kinds of things. And then we just leave people alone because it's really hard to talk to people that are listening to headphones.
I see. So
Um,
you're the consumer is really cross matrixing the headphones with the DAC.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. So it's we have the yeah, basically we give them an iPad, can stream anything really that you want. And that'll go through a number of different DAC amps. So if somebody wants to come in and compare amps, they can bring in their own headphones or use one of ours and compare several different DACs right on the fly, playing the same music in the same time. Or if they want to use one DAC and compare several different headphones, it's a really great way for somebody to come in and really get a personal understanding of the different experience that different headphone manufacturers kind of bring to the table because they all have their own sort of different things that they're trying to accomplish with their products and different signatures in terms of their sound. So that's our job, is to help people understand those differences so that they can make an educated decision that's right for them, right? So the different
Okay.
types of products, what you get for this amount of money, right? What you're gaining in that, and then let people listen and decide if it's worth it for themselves.
I get it. I love it. All right. So I want to pivot now to the way that you guys are marketing, and specifically your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You guys have a fantastic YouTube channel. And
Thank you
so
very much.
I'm gonna put it on the screen and maybe talk to us. How do you think about YouTube? What's the role of YouTube? And then
Yeah.
ultimately, what are you putting up on the channel? And I'll share the screen while you're talking.
Sure, sure. So, our YouTube channel really has become our primary way of reaching new customers. We realized um, our YouTube channel is far older than sort of the current iteration of it would suggest, but so we've gone through several different iterations. But since January of last year, we have a person part time on staff who's been doing the videography and editing and making of the YouTube videos. That's him, Will Hirsch. He is phenomenal. He is the reason that our channel looks and it is good. He does a phenomenal job, and YouTube is where our customers go to learn about products, is really what I came to find out, is that There are other locations, sure, but I think on a the scale of YouTube is really hard to match with any other platform or any other forum or any other place on the internet for this kind of stuff. And so we realized at that time that we had to have a presence there and that that's where the vast majority of our effort should be in terms of trying to attract new customers. So the content on our YouTube channel is intentionally silly and lighthearted. Again, we are sort of constantly fighting this stereotype of stereo stores. And it's really, we want it to be fun, right? It's that the ultimate goal for all of this stuff is to educate people about products and different technologies and things like that we're seeing and what we're liking. I am very against doing reviews on our YouTube channel, which is bizarre because that is by far the type of content that gets the best from a metric standpoint. But I find that we're not a trustworthy source for reviews, right? We're biased. We have a great sort of stable of partners and manufacturers that we work with, and it's not appropriate for me to say anything negative I might think about their products with regards to that partnership. And if I can't be honest and share my honest opinion online in every case, right? If I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it, then we shouldn't be doing reviews. Is how I look at it. And honestly, when I watch reviews, if somebody makes money selling that product, I don't trust them. And so that's why we decided not to do reviews. So our content is a lot more of who do we think this product is a good fit for, right? Is if you happen to identify as this, or if this is your situation, we think that this is a really great solution and product for you and that you should consider it and come to the store and listen to it, right? So a lot of our content is based around inspiring people to do the hardest thing these days, which is to either pick up a phone and talk to a human. Um, if you call our store, the first thing the phone says is press 0 if you want to get away from this recording and talk to a real human, and or to come into the store. Right? We realize that the effort that it takes to get in your car, drive to Buckhead, especially here in Atlanta, is monumental, and so we don't take that for granted. And our YouTube channel is all about trying to showcase the products that are here, and also showcase the people that are here. Right? It's the staff here. I think about 70% maybe of the staff is actually former customers who really had a great experience here and became repeat customers and then employees. And so they're you know they're passionate about sharing their passion with people. And so that comes across through our YouTube channel far better than it does through any other social media that we've found.
For those who are not actively on YouTube, which I'm going to
Yeah,
challenge, is most of our industry are
sure.
not, you're not doing it, and if they are doing it, they're not doing it well. Sorry, don't throw tomatoes. Just calling it as I see it.
We didn't do it well either for a long
So,
time.
but you are doing it well now. Like everything looks beautifully shot, beautifully
Yeah,
lit. Looks like you've got the right audio gear, the right camera gear, the right lighting. Um, maybe what are some of the basics? Like what if you were
sure.
instructing a friend, you were at the can jam, and you were giving
Yeah.
somebody a recommendation on how to, feature their store or feature the gear they have on the floor in their store. What are some of those, maybe the fundamentals or the basics?
Yeah, honestly, I'm probably the wrong person to ask, though. I've learned a lot over the last year and a half.
Is
Will
it find a
Hirsch.
young kid that knows how to do this
Yeah,
and bring
yeah,
them on
basically
staff?
find
Is
yeah,
that the
exactly.
answer?
Find pay attention to your customers, and find a young kid that knows what he's doing and hire him. That was our shortcut. And it's paid off tremendously. I cannot recommend that approach anymore because his experience is really what comes through on these videos and what you're talking about. His experience in um being able to craft the shot that he sees in his head and have it come across on camera is an incredible talent. Now, that being said, I don't think that you necessarily have to do all of this at that level of production to get now this yeah, this is going to be an older style video. You can tell the lighting is not nearly as good. And but that being said, you know I think the important part is to be yourself on camera. It's tough. I'm on camera now. I'm more comfortable than I've ever been about it, but I'm still nervous every time we do it because it it's hard to do. And
Except
it's
for
hard to
this
do well.
podcast.
Except for this podcast, right?
Yeah,
This is very easy.
I'm
Yeah, no.
so easy to talk
That's
to.
right. But it's you know, I'd say in terms of basics, honestly, go on YouTube, look up some basics in terms of lighting strategies for lighting static products and things like that. There are plenty of great tutorials these days for those types of things. There's a lot of incredible products from a filming standpoint. We use DJI, I think Osmo Pocket 3. It is incredible. That's actually what I'm filming this on right now. If anybody that's not aware of this product, like it looks like a toy. And it produces incredible stuff very easily without needing any sort of like, you know, class on how to use it, right? You don't need a fancy DSLR camera with all these manual settings and things. It's pretty amazing. For a long time, we shot on our iPhones, and you can get great results with that as well. I think the biggest differentiator in our videos these days is the lighting,
The lighting,
in
yeah.
terms of the immediate sort of, okay, this is well done. And that is something that I think most people could learn if they sat down for, an hour or two a week and watched some YouTube videos on how to do
Yes.
it. Between honestly, look at Twitch streamers, these kinds of things, podcasts. There's so
Yep.
much information online about how to improve your Twitch stream, right? It doesn't have to be a Twitch stream, it can be to make a YouTube video. It's the same processes, and they really will. That's the way to learn. Where do my key lights go, where do my fill lights go, and those kinds of things. I'm thankful that Will was here today so he could set all this stuff up and I didn't have to.
Yeah.
But that being said, it is something that most people can do with a couple of lights and a small DJI camera, and you can really, really elevate the level of production on your videos.
Yeah. I've told this story once or twice on the podcast, but back in COVID, I want to say it was like 2021, I finally decided to up my game
Yeah,
here at One Firefly, and just for me, producing the podcast.
yeah,
And my son was playing Fortnite and he was watching these Twitch streamers
yeah,
and they looked so damn good.
yeah,
And I'm like, I look so terrible. And
yeah.
everyone I meet with, I love you all, looks so terrible on video.
Right.
I was like, how did these kids look so fantastic? And sometimes not even kids. I mean, these people could be in
No,
their
yeah.
20s or 30s playing video games for money. And my son was,
Seriously, yeah.
I mean, making real money. And I was watching them. And then I did just what you just said. I went to YouTube. I said, how to look like a Twitch streamer.
Yeah.
And there was
It's
school 101
yeah,
on
it's
camera
an
settings.
outrageous amount of stuff that is online in terms of learning that kind of stuff, right? It's all sorts of things, right? In terms of how to make videos. Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever looked at Twitch, but like you'd understand why people go through the amount of effort they do to get that production quality, because you have a split second to stand out among hundreds of thousands of people that are streaming the exact same
Yeah.
game in most cases. And that immediate, oh, this is professional, this person knows what they're doing, is what wins those eyeballs.
Yes.
And that's what we've seen on YouTube as well.
Yeah. And what I noticed, and just for folks that are worried this might take a lot of energy, I agree with everything you said, Chris, by the way. But moving to good lighting, and again, that does not have to mean a lot of money.
No.
That could literally mean a few $100s.
Yeah.
And the right lights placed in the right place. You said a key light, a fill light, a rim light, a
Yeah.
background light, accent lights. Just knowing that architecture, and I didn't know that architecture, but I watched those videos and I was just like, "Oh, that doesn't even seem that hard."
Right.
And I hadn't even swapped out my camera yet, and I just updated my lighting, and, like, for the next week, everyone would say, "What
Yeah.
camera did you get?
Yeah. Yeah.
What,"
It's
"Tell me what camera to buy." And I'm like, "The camera is the same camera. It's just adding lighting."
Yeah, I mean, the bar to stand out is not very high,
No.
right? You do not have to be a professional at this to to do a good job. and
Yes.
to stand out with the quality. But you're right in that once you sort of dip your toe in and do the lighting right, it just will show everyone the importance of it, and then all the other stuff, the better camera and kind of falling further down the rabbit hole tends to follow with that. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree. Now let's look at the business side of
sure.
YouTube. You had
Yeah,
made the overture that it's been a way for you to find clients. Tell us about that.
yeah. So we find that because we don't do e-commerce, right? And so our goal obviously is to reach customers, and the best customers that we can reach are the customers that are either doing research or the ones that are already basically are farther down the funnel and are trying to make a purchase decision, right? And we find that between those two things, those are the two things we try to hit on our videos, right? Is let's talk education, right? Let's talk, why do you need a phono preamp with a turntable kind of thing, right? So that's something that, like, for the size of our website and the amount of stuff that we do, if I was to write, say, a blog post about that, which you guys do a great job of those things for us, but we're never going to have the reach. I said never again, but I don't really mean that. I'm
It's
being
hard
hyperbolic.
to compete
It's hi
against the reach of
right, of YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, and the
Yeah, it's what I
searchability
think
of
it's the
YouTube.
second I think it's still the second most popular website on the internet.
Yeah,
Um,
and second most popular search engine on the internet
yeah,
for sure.
I know I think site-wise, it's been in the top 3 forever.
Yes.
And so it's just and there's like we said, in this industry specifically, there's so few people doing it that you that a small company like us can make a lot more noise on YouTube than we can on a general search engine trying to stand out against other companies, much larger companies that are writing those similar blog posts. And so that education side of things is a huge part for us because it immediately builds trust from a client, right? If we're not trying to sell them something on a video, right? If we're not, it's not sponsored, it doesn't have links to our e-commerce store because we don't have one, right? All we're doing is sharing information, right? And that reach, whether or not somebody actually reaches out to us or not, for us is at that point is irrelevant, right? We want to establish ourselves as somebody that knows what they're talking about, so that when people see us, they there's a bit of trust that's built, right? And then the other side of that is actually featuring the products that we sell so that again say for example a Rega turntable, for just to pick something off the shelf, there's not that many videos about them, right? But if somebody's interested in a Rega turntable, a lot of times they're going to go search for reviews, and thankfully Google really likes to send people to YouTube. um, so a lot of times our YouTube videos will show up in search results on Google as well as on YouTube itself, right? And
Mm.
so um between those two things, we really find that that's the vast majority of how we find new customers these days. Either referrals are still number one for us and always have been. But outside of referrals, YouTube is by far our best source of new customers these days.
I love it. Talk to me about how your business utilizes in-store events to
Yeah,
drive customer education and awareness.
yeah, events are a huge thing for us. And the reason I think that it is um how do I put this? Once somebody's aware of us, we find that they come into our store, and then it's for me, it's about reminding them that there's new things to come see. Right? Is like imagine going to a movie theater, but they never change the movies. Right? You're gonna stop going after a certain point, right? It's so for me, the events are a reason to remind people that we're here. They're a reason to reach out to a customer. And it's a unique time sensitive reason for someone to come to the store. And so those are really important parts of it, right? Is if I'm just saying, hey, we've got a new product in, it's going to be here for until it's discontinued. There's no time pressure for somebody to come to the store for that, right? It's
Right.
sort of goes in the back of their mind. And if they need something down the road, they might remember it and come see us, right? The events are a unique opportunity for customers to get FaceTime with the manufacturers and to ask questions that directly to the person that knows the product the best, right? As good as we are, we've got to keep track of 60 different vendors and thousands of different SKUs and products, we're never going to have the depth of knowledge that a manufacturer has of their own products.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's fun to meet those people that design the products that bring you joy, right? So it's a really important aspect for us to be a customer appreciation style sort of thing, right? Where we have food and drinks and it's, community building, right? We have groups of people who started off as customers and are now friends outside of the store and get together to listen to their systems and things like that. So it's a really awesome opportunity for us to sort of grow the hobby right in our little market here. And then it's like I said, the most important part for me is about the giving somebody a compelling, time sensitive reason to come to the store. And oftentimes we see sales jump when we have events, but it's rarely limited to and specifically for the product that the event was about.
Oh, that's interesting.
It really what we see is people come to the store, have a great experience, and then just start thinking about their own system and sort of what that next upgrade might be, right? Or maybe I do want to add a secondary system in my office kind of thing, or whatever it may be, right? And so, the turntable event might sell a streamer to somebody, right? Or an amp upgrade or a speaker upgrade because they haven't been in our store in maybe over a year in some cases,
How do
right?
you
And
promote attendance at your events?
promote attendance in terms of
How do
what do you
you
mean by
get
that?
people to
Like
show
get
up?
people
Do
here?
you Yeah, how do you
Um,
email them? Do you
yeah,
call them?
email newsletters, and social media are by far the number one ways. In store mentions and advertising here in the store is important part of that because we constantly have people that are sort of looking at a specific product, and especially towards the back half of this year, we just had an event at the end of August, and we have three more vendor events before the end of the year.
Wow.
And so it's a lot. It's it's
Almost
and
1 a month-ish.
yeah, and we try not to do we try to stay around 6 a year. For whatever reason this year they just all ended up in the fall.
Okay.
And so it they kind of got clumped together, but it's an exciting point of the year for us to be because we've got a lot to look forward to in terms of different things. And for most of these events, the vendors are sending us products that aren't normally available to demo on our floor here in the showroom, whether that be just because of space limitations or price points or things like that. So we're going to get the opportunity to hear and to show off products that you wouldn't normally get to hear, which is again coming down to that, giving somebody a compelling reason to be in the store. And that's really what I focus on for the events because I've turned down events with
Yeah.
vendors. It's doing an event just to do an event, we have found doesn't work. There's got to be a hook. There's got to be a reason to come, right? If I'm telling customers like come check out the stuff that you would always be able to hear at our store anytime you come by, it's not super compelling.
Right.
And so I'm always trying to find and work with the manufacturers to develop that special hook to get customers in the store. We tend to average somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 50 clients in the store at a time for these events, which makes them difficult selling events because we don't
Yeah.
get that one-on-one time. What we see is that in the weeks following the events, we see an uptick in phone calls and visits from those people that came to the event.
I love it. Do you I just one closing question on that topic. Do you normally post events, send out some sort of thank you or acknowledgement of them having attended
We
the
should
event?
absolutely do better with that. They are so hectic that we tend not to do a great job of collecting information at the time of the events.
Okay.
In terms of like
Do you know
identifying
which of
who
your
was here.
customers were there, or is that something again
In
that could
most
be
cases, yeah, there's definitely we have a group of there's a group of regulars that we can count on to be at every event, and then there's the new customers that show up, and then I always tend to really key in on the people that I don't recognize and make sure
okay?
that they feel welcome, because we do have a lot of regulars, a bizarre amount of regulars for the store that we are, but it's those people are comfortable being here. They feel like part of the family, so it's like they can just come over and hang out anytime. And I want to make sure that everybody feels that way. And so I tend to personally focus my time during those events on making sure that anybody that I don't recognize feels really welcomed and has a great time.
Awesome.
Not to ignore our regulars, but
Yeah, you gotta love them all.
Right.
Chris, it has been awesome having you on Automation Unplugged, and you're a wealth of knowledge, and I learned so much. So I want to thank you for joining me here for the show.
Absolutely.
And
Thanks for having me.
no, it was, you were wonderful. For folks that want to get in touch with you directly, can we put some handles out there in terms of how people can get in contact with you?
Of course, yeah. Email is just very simple, Chris at hifibuys.com. The store phone number, you can reach me pretty much anytime at the store. And really, I'm actually the one that responds to pretty much any messages and comments on our social media and YouTube channels. So Instagram, Facebook, and especially YouTube, those channels go straight to me. And so that is a big part of what I do these days.
And that store phone is seven seven
Yes.
zero
All right.
931 0606.
And press 0 to get to a real person right after it picks up.
Yep. If
Yep.
you wanna bypass the machine, get to
Yep.
humans. And at YouTube, it's youtube.com/hi-fi buys. That's
That is right.
HIFIBUYS, hi-fi buys. And,
Yep.
of
And
course
website is HiFi Buys, HIFIBUYS .com again. And Instagram and Facebook both on as HiFi Buys as well.
awesome. Chris, thanks for joining me here on Automation Unplugged.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.